Southeast Asia is attractive both as a tourist destination and as a trading partner. What languages are spoken in this region? Don't forget to subscribe to Lang Explorer to show your support. Southeast Asia is full of attractions such as beach resorts, its unique cultures, and wonderful cuisines. But little is known about the diversity of languages that are spoken in this region. Where and what languages are spoken, which characters are used, and what are their characteristics? In this video, we'd like to tell you the linguistic situation and languages in Southeast Asia. Since not much is known about what languages are spoken in these countries, we'd like to give you a brief presentation. Try studying the languages and deepen your understanding of this region. First, we'd like to explain the region of Southeast Asia. It consists of the Indochina and the Malay Peninsula to the south of China and Taiwan and the east of the Indian subcontinent, as well as islands in the sea. It has 11 independent countries, 10 of which, except East Timor, make up the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, and are strengthening cooperation within the region, mainly in the economic field. Since this channel focuses on linguistics, we look at the region from this perspective. English is official in the Philippines and Singapore and is widely spoken in Malaysia and Brunei too. No knowledge of local languages is necessary if you stay there for a short period, especially as a tourist or on a business trip, while you need to be accompanied by those who can speak local languages if you go to other countries where English isn't official. Anyway, very few people, if any, speak English as their first language, and local languages are used in any of these countries. We'll illustrate some languages from now on. All Southeast Asian countries except Thailand were once colonies of Western powers, and English is still official in countries that used to be ruled by the United Kingdom or the United States. But neither Dutch nor French nor Spanish is used anymore in Indonesia, a former Dutch colony, in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, former French colonies, and in the Philippines, a former Spanish colony. In Timor-Leste, a former Portuguese colony, Portuguese has been restored since independence, but in other countries, English is much more commonly spoken than the languages of their former rulers. The most significant language in Southeast Asia, especially regarding the number of speakers, is Indonesian, or
Bahasa Indonesia,
as it's frequently called. Indonesia is the largest country in ASEAN, with a population of 271.9 million as of 2020, and Indonesian is the official language spoken throughout the country. But Indonesia shares cultural features with Malay-speaking countries. Both languages are still very closely related, and Indonesian can be used in Malay-speaking countries, specifically Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore. It's also understood in East Timor, which used to be occupied by Indonesia for more than 25 years. So, if you master Indonesian, you can communicate with more than 300 million people in 5 countries. Also, note that while Indonesian is the lingua franca throughout the country, many other languages are spoken there, such as Javanese and Sundanese, and you should learn these local languages too if you want to be closely connected to the daily lives of the local people. Indonesian and Malay languages are now written in the Latin alphabet, so you don't need to study new characters, as with some other languages. Also, unlike Indo-European languages, they have neither declensions nor conjugations, and cases are shown in SVO word order like English and Chinese, and even auxiliary verbs can be omitted if the tense is apparent with words such as yesterday or next year. Such grammatical features are not unique to Indonesian and Malay but are shared with some other Southeast Asian languages, to be presented later. The U.S. Department of State website lists the difficulty level of languages, and Indonesian and Malay are classified as the easiest non-European languages because of their simple grammar and pronunciation and use of the Latin alphabet. Compared to English pronunciation, these languages use consonants sh, z, f, v only in foreign tongues, th is never used, r is trilled, ny is distinguished from n, and they have 6 vowels, the 5 vowels of a, e, i, o, u, and schwa. For personal pronouns, Indonesian and Malay distinguish two sorts of we, between,
kita,
which includes the listeners, and
kami,
which does not. Also, some pronouns have possessives that are attached to the end of the noun. Furthermore, some words are reduplicated where the same word can be repeated twice to express meanings such as several, each other, and repeatedly. The grammar is simple due to the nature of the language as lingua franca, and they're relatively easy languages to master. Malay is the mother tongue of ethnic Malays, who are the majority in Malaysia and Brunei, but ethnic Chinese and Tamil also learn it, so we can say that they too understand and speak this language. In Singapore, on the contrary, English is widely used in social life, while Malay is used to a much more limited extent. Although English is easily understood in all three countries, and especially in Singapore, it isn't uncommon to live a social life in English alone, especially if you get closer to ethnic Malays in your personal life. Learning Malay will bring you much closer to them psychologically. Indonesian and Malay languages are similar, but words of Dutch origin are used in Indonesia, a former Dutch colony. In contrast, other words of English origin tend to be used in Malay-speaking countries that are former British colonies. The Philippines is the second largest country after Indonesia in terms of population, where English is quite easily understood. At the same time, Tagalog is spoken not only in the southern part of Luzon Island, including Metro Manila, where it was initially spoken, but also in the rest of the country through school education and TV programs. Since English is widely used in universities, government, businesses, and so on, it's enough to be fluent in it for short-term visits to the Philippines for work. At the same time, Tagalog and other local languages, in the case of non-Tagalog speaking areas such as Cebu, are necessary for those who wish to be closer to locals. Although the Philippine government tends to use the term Filipino, Tagalog is still the more common term in practice. Ethnically, inhabitants in the Philippines are Malay, similar to those in Indonesia and Malaysia, but these nations have their own cultures, which is also reflected in their linguistic differences, making mutual understanding difficult. In addition, since the Philippines was a Spanish colony until 1898, many loan words from Spanish can be found in the Philippine languages, such as Tagalog. In addition, you can find a Creole language with Spanish called Chavacano, which is spoken around Zamboanga City on Mindanao Island. And the rule by the United States, which began in 1898, diffused the use of English. While this language is also spoken in Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei, these countries were more influenced by the United Kingdom than the United States, so their English is rather British, while Filipinos tend to follow the American one. Last but not least, languages in the Philippines are written in the Latin alphabet due to colonization by Spain and the United States. Tagalog is devoid of F, V, Z, J, or TH, and SH and CH are used only in foreign words, while it has only 5 vowels, i.e., A, I, E, O, and U. While it has no declension, markers are generally placed before nouns to show the case, and the word order is generally VSO. It has not only 4 tenses, imperfect, perfect, present and future, but also both active and passive tenses, and verbs are conjugated accordingly. In Vietnam, the third most populous country in Southeast Asia after the Philippines, Vietnamese is the official language and is the native language of the majority of people. Some people may think that Vietnamese is a dialect of Chinese because of its tones and the use of Chinese characters in the past, but it isn't, and it belongs to the Austroasiatic language family. Khmer, a language spoken in Cambodia, is relatively close to Vietnamese, but these two languages are entirely different after thousands of years of separation, and there's no mutual intelligibility. Vietnam was under French rule from the 19th to the 20th century, and it was during this time that the Latin alphabet, rather than Chinese characters, became the dominant writing system there. Nevertheless, most Vietnamese vocabulary is still of Chinese origin, and it's possible to write it in Chinese characters. Also, in terms of pronunciation, it has aspirated consonants, similar to Chinese. Although the predominant religion in Vietnam is Buddhism, it differs from its neighbors, such as Thailand and Cambodia, as most Vietnamese follow Mahayana while other Southeast Asians practice Theravada, which are two branches of Buddhism. Vietnamese pronunciation is quite particular, and there are considerable differences between the north, such as the capital Hanoi, and the south, such as Ho Chi Minh City. It has 6 tones, more complex than Mandarin, and compared to English in terms of consonants, P is used only in loan words from Western languages, and Vietnamese has no SH, J, or TH. On the other hand, in addition to B, this letter with a horizontal bar in D has a particular pronunciation called implosive, and for T, a distinction is made between unaspirated and aspirated. In the north, D and Z are pronounced as they are, while D and R are pronounced as Z. In the south, V, Z, and D are pronounced as Y, while the pronunciation of R is preserved. The aspired K is also present, and S and TR are pronounced as reverflex in the south. Vietnamese vowels are also complex, and it's essential to focus on mastering such pronunciation if you study Vietnamese. In terms of grammar, Vietnamese is similar to Chinese in that there's no conjugation or declension, and the case is indicated by word order while adjectives are added after nouns. Thailand is a very popular tourist destination, famous for its beach resorts, and Thai is closely related to Lao, the official language of neighboring Laos. Both languages belong to the Thai-Kadai language family and use similar but different characters. Their pronunciation is more complex than the Vietnamese one, with 5 different tones, but compared to English, they have a unique phonology, lacking consonants such as G, J, SH, TH, V, and Z, and central vowels. In addition, Lao is highly labialized, with many pronunciations, such as KW and SW. Theravada Buddhism is widespread not only in Thailand but also in Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia, and languages in such countries have many words of Pali origin. Moreover, based on the history of exchange with various countries, Thai has words borrowed from different languages such as Chinese, English, French, and Japanese. Regarding grammar, verbs have no conjugation, case is indicated by word order, and tense is expressed by words such as yesterday or tomorrow or by adding auxiliary verbs. Myanmar is also a multi-ethnic country with many different languages spoken. The country's official language is Burmese, and most Myanmar citizens are fluent in it as their first or second language. It belongs to the Sino-Tibetan languages, which include Chinese and Tibetan, but the differences are so significant that even those fluent in Chinese can't understand it easily because more than 5,000 years are likely to have passed since their separation. Burmese, like Thai and Lao, has its own characters. In terms of pronunciation, it has 4 tones and more consonants than other languages, including a few aspirated consonants, while R is absent in this language. Regarding vowels, it has 2 E's, 2 O's, and schwa. Grammatically, it's an agglutinative language like Turkish and Japanese, uses particles to express case with nouns, and attaches various elements to verbs to express tense, honorifics, etc. Khmer is the language spoken in Cambodia. It's an Austroasiatic language, which means it's related to Vietnamese we already presented, but these are substantially different, as evidenced by the fact that Khmer is a Mon-Khmer language family, while Vietnamese belongs to another language family called Viet Muong. Khmer has its own characters, making it different from neighboring languages such as Thai and Lao. While it has aspirated consonants, but lacks F, V, SH, CH, J, Z, or TH. It has many vowels, as shown on the screen, but unlike Vietnamese and Thai, Khmer has no tones. However, this may change in the future as people in the capital city, Phnom Penh, use tones in their dialect. Grammar is simple, without declension or conjugation, and adjectives are placed after nouns. East Timor has a variety of languages for its relatively small land area, and Taytun plays a role in national unity. This language belongs to the Malayo-Polynesian subgroup of the Austronesian languages, the same as Indonesian and Malay, but it's a different language at the branch level. As East Timor was a Portuguese colony for many years, Tatun has many words of Portuguese origin, making it difficult for speakers of Indonesian and Malay to understand it. For the same reason, it isn't uncommon to find some people fluent in Portuguese. As already presented, Indonesian is also understood, as it was taught during the Indonesian occupation. Last but not least, let's have a look at scripts and listen to the pronunciations in 8 languages we've already seen, except Tatun, which isn't available at speech synthesis. Here are the texts of the Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Semua orang dilahirkan merdeka dan mempunyai martabat dan hak-hak yang sama. Mereka dikaruniai akal dan hati nurani dan hendaknya bergaul satu sama lain dalam semangat persaudaraan.
Semua manusia dilahirkan bebas dan sama rata dari segi kemuliaan dan hak-hak. Mereka mempunyai pemikiran dan perasaan hati dan hendaklah bertindak di antara satu sama lain dengan semangat persaudaraan. Ang lahat ng tao'y isinilang na malaya at pantay-pantay sa karangalan at mga karapatan. Sila'y pinagkalooban ng katwiran at budhi at dapat magpalagayan ang isa't isa sa diwa ng pagkakapatiran.
Tất cả mọi người sinh ra đều được tự do và bình đẳng về nhân phẩm và quyền, mọi con người đều được tạo hóa ban cho lý trí và lương tâm và cần phải đối xử với nhau trong tình bằng hữu.
มนุษย์ทั้งหลายเกิดมามีอิสระและเสมอภาคกันในเกียรติศักดิ์และสิทธิต่างมีเหตุผลและมโนธรรมและควรปฏิบัติต่อกันด้วยเจตนารมณ์แห่งพระดรภาพมนุษย์เกิดมามีสิทธิเสรีภาพและเสมอหน้ากันในทางเกียรติศักดิ์และทางสิทธิด้วยมนุษย์มีสติสัมปชัญญะหูดีหูสวกและมีมโนธรรมจึงต้องประพฤติตนต่อกันในทางพี่น้องလွတ်လပ်သောအခွင့်အရေးများဖြင့်၎င်းမွေးဖွားလာသူများဖြစ်သည်ထိုသူတို့၌ပိုင်းခြားဝေဖန်တတ်သောဉာဏ်နှင့်ကျင့်ဝတ်တည်တတ်သောစိတ်တို့ရှိကြ၍ထိုသူတို့သည်အချင်းချင်းမေတ္တာထား၍ဆက်ဆံကျင့်သုံးသင့်၏
មនុស្សទាំងអស់កើតមកមានសេរីភាពនិងសន្តិភាពក្នុងផ្នែកសេចក្តីថ្លៃថ្នូរនិងសិទ្ធិមនុស្សមានវិចារណញ្ញាណនិងសតិសម្បជញ្ញៈចុះពីកំណើតហើយក៏បីប្រព្រឹត្តចំពោះគ្នាទៅវិញទៅមកក្នុងស្មារតីភេរភាពជាបងប្អូន
Now, let's summarize what we've learned today. 1. English is official in some Southeast Asian countries, but not in other countries. Where it's official, this language is enough for your business trip or tourism, but you'll need to speak the local language if you want to integrate into the local community. 2. Regarding the number of speakers, Indonesian is the most important language in Southeast Asia. Because of its similarity to Malay, mastering Indonesian enables communication with more than 300 million people in 5 countries, and its grammar is easy. 3. Excluding Indonesian and Malay, the official languages of Southeast Asian countries are Tagalog, Vietnamese, Thai, Burmese, Khmer, Lao, and Tatun, in order of number of speakers. Thai is relatively similar to Lao and is widely understood in Laos, but generally speaking, even the languages of neighboring countries are entirely different. 4. Some of the languages spoken in Southeast Asia, such as Indonesian, Malay, Tagalog, and Vietnamese, use the Latin alphabet, while Thai, Burmese, Lao, and Khmer use their own alphabet. 5. Regarding pronunciation, some languages lack consonants such as Z, SH, F, V, and G, while most languages spoken in Indochina, such as Vietnamese and Thai, have tones and aspirated consonants. 6. From a grammatical point of view, the languages of Southeast Asia share a commonality in that many of them use word order to indicate case, like English and Chinese, and lack conjugation and declension. 7. Buddhist terms of Pali origin are common in Thai, Burmese, Lao, and Khmer, as Theravada is predominant among speakers of such languages. Thank you for watching this video. We're looking forward to seeing you in the next one.